Hey guys, this is Tucker. I just wanted to do a quick walkthrough for our fourth workshop of the year. We're going to be doing some sentiment analysis using NBA Twitter data, and it's a little bit tricky getting the the Colab notebook up and running. Basically, what Google Colab is it's a Python file hosted on Google Drive, so it can be shared and worked on by multiple people. It's pretty much the same as Jupyter Notebooks, if any of you have used that, which is just an online Python IDE, so a place where you can use Python. And basically, I just want to get everyone started on how to upload their the code and then the necessary data. So everyone should have this S2E4 data file, which has the notebook, this UVMSAC underscore S2E4 IPYNB, that's Python notebook, and then this TXT file. And the data is in a TXT file because I read the data in. It's a thousand tweets that have the word NBA in it, the thousand most recent tweets at the time that I downloaded it. I used the Twitter API to download the tweets. And the reason I don't have the code to actually download the tweets is one, it takes a little while, and two, you need an API key and an API secret, which is like a password, and those cannot be put on a public thing like a Google Notebook or a Google Drive or anything like that because they contains like sensitive information encoded in the key and the secret. So I just downloaded the data and I'm just going to give it to you and then we can work from there. So first we want to go to File, and then we want to go to, before this, to get here, just you can go to Google Drive, and then there should be a tab like in here for a notebook, and then or you can just type in Google Colab and then it should bring you to a page like this. But anyway, we're going to do File, and then we're going to do Open Notebook, and then we're going to go to Upload, and then what we should be able to do is just drag this right in here, exit out of that, and then it should just open up. Okay, so this is our notebook with everything we need, and then we're going to click on this file part, click here, the little folder with the up arrow, and then we're going to click Content, and this is where we want to put our data. So we're going to drag NBA underscore tweets into Content, X out of that, and say OK. It's just saying the data is only going to be in there temporarily. Basically, once we close this, we'll have to re-upload it. There is a way to do this more permanently. Pretty much you just make like a folder in Google Drive and drag this stuff in as you would with like any, Google Docs or any of that. But this is what we're going to do for now. And now we should be ready to go. So the difference with a notebook and a Python file, just a traditional Python file, is a notebook has some markdown, which is just normal like text stuff. So I'm just basically introducing the topic in this, and it's just text. So this isn't not a code block. So there's text blocks up here, and there's code blocks, which is what you see here with just like the normal Python stuff, and then text block, code block. And so this is already run. I think the file you guys will have, the plots won't be showing, but pretty much just to get going, you'll just run through this. So this will be importing the packages. Some of you may have some trouble with this because you won't have already downloaded the packages. If for some reason it's saying like error, tweetb not installed, what you're going to do is uncomment this line up here, and you just keep this line. So it'd be the exclamation point, pip install, and then you want to do your package name. So you can do like tweetb. And I can even run this. And it'll probably say like already fulfilled. Yep, requirement already satisfied. And if you had multiple things that you need to install, you just do another one. Pip install numpy. Or that's going to be a big package, so pip install re. And it should just say requirement already satisfied for both of them. For you, it may take, if you don't have them already installed, it may take a little longer. There's just some errors because it's already installed. So I'm going to uncomment this, pip install, or just go back. Okay. That should be good to go. Then this install the packages, and then this is just reading the data. So if you put the data in the right spot, which is in the content folder, this should have no problem reading it in. And now we have a list. This is a list item, NBA tweets, with all our tweets. And then what this is doing, you can read through the comments if you'd like. Pretty much this is just iterating through the list, splitting up every tweet into just the words, getting all the unique words, and then counting how many times each unique word appears. And then if the word is what we call a stop word, something like the, in, of, has, is, just words that like occur a lot but don't really add anything to the meaning of a sentence, other than like proper grammar, of course. Get rid of those, and we're just using like the actual like descriptive words, mainly like adjectives and verbs. And it'll put those in a dictionary where they're the key, and then the value of that key is the frequency. So we can, if anyone has questions on this, we can go over it. This is just to get people comfortable. You don't have to do anything to the code, it'll just run. Whoops. Words is not defined. Oh, did I forget to run that? Okay, yeah. So you need to run this first, which is, again, doing what I described, where separating the tweet into the words and then getting the frequency of all the words. It may take a little bit. Again, there's 1,000 tweets in here. And it's going through, a couple for loops. So it's got to go through each of them many, many times. But in the end of it, we should have this words dictionary. All right, we're going to let that run. That was taking a little longer than I thought. This next thing, while we wait for this chunk to run, is just going to visualize the most common words in this data set. So again, ignoring all the stop words. It's going to plot basically all words that have appeared more than 35 times in those 1,000 tweets, because if we plotted all the words, it would just be way too cluttered of a graph, because a lot of words occur just once or twice. So we're just looking at the most significant ones. And then we're going to look at the most polarized words. So this is really when we're getting to sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis is basically giving you a score, a sentiment score, or a polarity score, which is from -1 to 1. -1 being really negative, so a word like terrible, awful, horrible, that's going to be -1. Or awesome, amazing, great, terrific, that's going to be 1. So individual words can have sentiment, and then those are kind of aggregated to give an overall tweet a sentiment score. So a tweet that has a sentiment score of like -0.9 is very negative. A tweet that's 0 is completely neutral. Tweet that's 0.2 is a little bit positive, if that makes sense. Going back up to the plot before, we see the most common used are team, Shams Charania, who is that, I think is a username because that's like a NBA Twitter pundit, league, not super descriptive, find, injury. Now we're starting to get into some of the things that are actually describing what's going on in the NBA right now. Again, this is tweets from November 3rd. So we can discuss why some of these words are showing up and what it means. And then, again, down here we have the most polarized words. So words that, like I was mentioning before, terrible, terrific, horrible, awesome, that have, -1 or 1 polarity scores. And then also encoded into the color is the frequency of the word. So dark red would be not that frequent. Dark green would be very, very frequent, relative, 25 times in, 1,000 words. Again, frequent relative to the other very polarized words. And then we're just looking at how many overall tweets are overall positive or overall negative or overall neutral. So again, we mentioned how the words can be aggregated within a tweet to get an overall sentiment score. So it seems that generally most tweets about the NBA on November 3rd were neutral. About 200 were positive, a little over 300, or excuse me, a little over 300 were positive, a little over 200 were negative. So generally positive or neutral, I guess would be safe to say. And we'll talk about this also in class, or excuse me, not in class, in our meeting. But this isn't like super useful, I would say, when we're talking about the NBA. But we can start to see how some of these things could be useful for a team, a brand, outside of sports, just a business, and seeing what the general sentiment is of the public regarding their business, their product, or a certain action or acquisition that they've made. It's just a good way for them to have their ear on the ground, understand what people are saying, how they're feeling, so that they can better make business decisions. So again, this would be more on the business side of sports, but still very, very relevant to sports in general. And again, this is definitely a more advanced topic, but feel free to use this code for anything you'd like. And if you're interested in getting access to that Twitter API, it's a little bit of a process, probably takes a day or two to get access, probably 15 minutes to fill everything out. But really, really some cool stuff you can do with that data. But again, I think it's cool to get your eyes on this, even if you're not fully understanding what's going on, because sentiment analysis will be something you work on later on or already have worked on if you're like an upperclassman. So that's everything that we have today, and see you next time.